So my entry point into this conversation will be to take a cursory look at the whole policy and program implementation minefield, which indeed narrows down to two solution frameworks. One, the public institution implementation capability readiness to deliver big development, and the entire national productivity culture. That's to say that Nigeria has never been lacking in the capacity to craft visions and plans. The issue has always been execution, the capacity and the capability to move from governance to performance and to outcome. So Nigeria issue is really about getting things done. And in this, my thesis is that the devil of Nigeria's perpetual transition of an all-motion, no movement type lies in the details. That's the nut and bolt of implementation and public service capability readiness. Up front, I'd like to contribute to the conversation started by His Excellency, the Vice President, that the issue is not the humongous and unsustainable cost of governance, but the return on most of government investment, which speaks to the whole notion of the productivity of the economy. So I will proceed by saying that by taking government and big development to mean state or government prepared massive development leap that creates sufficient momentum that is capable of creating desirable multiplier effects that deliver national transformation. And in macroeconomic terms, it is an optimistic scenario of development possibility which delivers inclusive double-digit growth through game-changing, sustainable, value-adding contribution of the critical growth propelling sectors and growth drivers in the economy. In order to get a handle and understand this properly, in development discourse, we would, and whenever we discuss big development aspirational journey of countries, we are wont to, reference the Asian tigers, the likes of Japan, Singapore, South Korea, and Taiwan. And a useful perspective that characterizes their development lead is the notion of democratic developmental state. So that thesis assumes, one, that government is capable of getting a macroeconomic handle on the role of the state relative to the market. That is to say that if the private sector will be the engine of growth of the economy, the role of the state needs to be redefined and recalibrated around its core and non-core function as a basis for massive restructuring in order to be able to launch new business model that would develop that development. The second is that we assume that there is capacity in the government to craft a compelling national development agenda plan matched with smart implementation strategy to mobilize all sectors of the economy to implement it. So for me, why crafting of national vision and development plan has never been a Nigerian problem. The issue is execution, which suggests that government haven't crafted a compelling agenda, has mustered the political will to transcend parochialism in assembling the cabinet and the policy program delivery team by giving concession to technical rationalism and less of politics in constituting change and transformation too. In turn, suggests that tested hand with high-end expertise will be strategically located to make real impact in the critical pressure points that will ignite calculated multiplier effect that will deliver the transformation. The dynamic will demand disciplined implementation by consistently focusing on target performance data and feedback. This will in turn require leadership to successfully control the constraining factor, which is usually the problem that implementers face in the trenches, the whole Nigerian factor. So in moving to solution, I would say that moving from governance promise to timely delivery in a democratic but complex Nigerian space, the first challenge that every government faces is the problem of timing. Time. 4 years tenure is always a limiting factor, except for outlier performance. Consequently, the critical question that every president, every governor, every minister, or that must undertake a big development transformation journey, that the question to ask is, what type of changes can be realistically achieved in 4 years that will bring government promise to the point of efficient services delivered effectively to Nigerians? And achieving policy and development target entail moving from policy design to policy intelligence and creative implementation. And two issues should worry such a transformational leader. One relates to the issue of what needs to urgently change in the way the business of government is managed. And this question flows from the fact that we cannot expect any significant changes if we keep doing things the same way that has refused to yield any worthwhile results in the past. So if MDAs are therefore at the heart of policy implementation and service delivery, our change management strategy must take account of bureau pathology with reform to calibrate the delivery and business model that has once capacitated public institutions and deliver timely results. And if MDA's capacitation is a long-term thing, then selective institutional capacitation through reform that prioritize certain set of public institutions that will be at the forefront of the transformation journey will be a smart option. The public institution to be targeted for capacitation falls into three categories: MDAs that implement national priority programs, public institutions that regulate rules-based market players, and the institutions that facilitate welfare-oriented social impact services. Mr. Moderator, the last proposal I want to make, which is the second priority track, is the need to institute a new productivity paradigm in the national economy. Given the numerous references to fiscal crisis, cost of governance, the compelling need for current plans to emphasize enhanced productivity containing the cost of government will always remain an issue. The policy of imperative here will be to launch a national waste reduction strategy through getting critical sectors of the economy to articulate productivity plans based on agreed national benchmark. Apart from a strategic integration of these plans and targets into the National Development Plan, the launch of productivity metrics and to revise collective bargaining and current labor approach to negotiation. And of course, the benchmarking of capital overhead and personnel costs will be an irreducible critical success factor. With respect to execution capacity of public institution and compelling need to beef up the public service capability readiness, the objective and strategy should include setting the public service on productivity curve through baseline productivity audit to free resources for development, ensure efficient use of resources, and reducing redundancy. Structural overhaul of planning, programming, and budgeting system to build performance-oriented system that help public managers to build their policy intelligence, enhance service quality with focus on accountability for results, with the challenge of poor data culture addressed. Then MDAs will need to be thoroughly re-engineered through changes in their operation and processes to embrace project management culture and strategic PPP leverage. Job evaluation, targeting skills, recomposition, regrading new pay structure, and the rethinking of intellectual content of skills of public servants for running government. Heavy investment on capacity development underpinned by professionalized human resource function and meritocracy to revise the current operation of federal character and to redress public service, the functional physical environment, facility management, and layout to ensure that they drive productivity. Lastly, at the level of intergovernmental coordination for effective service delivery, especially to deliver the concurrent schedule of function, without prejudice to the need to reestablish critical departments, solution will require a more comprehensive look at the entire institutional architecture that run our federalism, to include strengthening of the national councils of the sectors, National Economic Council itself, the Joint Planning Board, and the Federal Secretariat. Maybe I might want to stop at that for now.